Kia ora everyone, my name's Zach, I love rugby, welcome back to the Hakatime Rugby. Guys, what a match we have coming up. It is the decider, and not only does it have implications for Pool B, the pool of death, it also has implications for the Rugby World Cup. This could decide who goes through from Pool B, and we know that Pool B was labelled the pool of death because we have 3 of the top 5 teams in the world with South Africa, Ireland, and Scotland all featured in here, but only 2 of them can make it out. So a lot of permutations. If you haven't seen the previous video, we did go through a number of those scenarios that could play out and how a team like South Africa could be vulnerable. Wild conspiracy theories floating around online. So let me run through the preview firstly. I'll just run through where I see some of the big areas that will be targeted by both teams. I'll do a little scenario on how this might play out, and then I'm going to show you some of the wild intricacies that we could see in the tiebreaker that could ultimately decide the fate for one of these teams. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with this as well. So the scenarios might be as wild as the conspiracy theories that I'm hearing online. Let's get into it though. Here's the forward pack from an Ireland perspective. That is a relatively settled lineup. It seems like almost any team sheet that Ireland puts out at the moment just looks like strong across the board. A lot of these players have been in and around this setup for so long as well. I was looking at the number of caps, and I noted there are 2 players in the starting 15 that have more than 100. There are 6 or 7 players that have more than 50 caps. So this is a vastly experienced team, a team that has been together a long time, and a team that many are predicting will go on to win the whole thing, including this match relatively easily. But we need to dive a little bit deeper under the covers, because if we look at the game against South Africa, there were a number of areas that South Africa had success. And that is something that Scotland might look at in this game, is to say, well, can we target some of those micro battles? And a couple of examples, obviously the scrum. So Ireland have a very, very good scrum, but the results were very mixed against South Africa, and you would have to say South Africa got the better of the scrum. Ireland had their moments of success, the likes of Porter, Sheehan, great scrummagers. Tyke Furlong as well, excellent scrummagers. But maybe there's a little opportunity there for Scotland to target the scrum, because they also have a great scrum. And then we look at the line-out. A number of line-out balls lost by Ireland. South Africa, a great line-out operation as well. But maybe this is another area that Scotland can target. They also have a very good line-out with guys like Richie Gray and others there. And then there is the breakdown. Now, the omission of Hamish Watson, I thought, was a really big one, because that might be an area that Scotland looked to, or at least could compete. But when you've got the likes of Peter O'Mahony, Josh van der Fleer, Caelan Doris, I mean, that is just a vastly experienced and excellent breakdown loose forward unit. So you almost need someone like a Hamish Watson. I was surprised to see him omitted, to give you a chance of really contesting at the breakdown. So when you look at this, on balance, when you look at set piece, when you look at scrum, line out, breakdown, you say Ireland probably have the better of each of those areas. But Scotland can be very competitive. And in some respects, South Africa showed the way on how they can compete with Ireland to get positive momentum, and then potentially use some of that sort of better backline skills in the later in the game to try and win the game. So I do think there's opportunities. I think if you look at each of the micro battles, you probably give Ireland the nod, but there's definitely opportunities there. Now, when we look to the backline, the 9-10 pivot, Jamison Gibson Park, Johnny Sexton, outstanding, probably the best 9-10 pivot in the world. But then you have the likes of Finn Russell, someone slightly different. Now, Ireland play a structured game, we all know that. But someone like a Finn Russell who, can be a bit of a maverick, can play off the cuff at times, eyes up footy as we call it. Someone like that could disrupt the flow and the rhythm of Ireland. So that's something we need to keep an eye on. Can Finn Russell really impose himself? How other teams have played Finn Russell, they've really gone after him and targeted him. You look at the Springboks game against Scotland, that's exactly what they did to really shut down his impact. But if he can get the ball and he can get going, then he can be somewhat of a magician and anything can happen. So if we look now to the centres, Bundy Aki might be the find of the World Cup, or at least sort of the best of the centres in the World Cup right now. Playing outstanding, one of the players of the tournament for me. And Bundy Aki and Gary Ringrose, experience, cohesion, great crash ball and great defence there from Gary Ringrose. So just there's really no weak links to this Irish squad. But then you look at Tuipulotu, Hugh Jones, good operators. So again, you might look at this and say, okay, well, Ireland have the advantage, but Scotland have a pair of centres there that can challenge. And then we look to the back three, both electing to go with the usual, power winger on one side and fleet-footed, skilled winger on the other side. Darcy Graham is one of those players that has been outstanding in this World Cup. And, it's going to be interesting to see if either side here can really stamp their mark. James Lowe as a power winger is just, not only is he disruptive with the ball in hand, but he's really disruptive at the breakdown. He offers that additional loose forward option, super strong. And we know Duhan van der Merwe what he can do with the ball in hand. So this is going to be an epic battle. Now, when I look to the substitutes, then you probably give the edge to Ireland. A lot more of these names I recognize, and obviously great operators have been in and around this squad a long time. Big number of caps there with the likes of Conor Murray. So, I'll come back to the point. Across the board, it looks like Ireland have the better squad and are probably better in a lot of those micro areas. But as a lot of you guys have suggested, whether it's Six Nations, other games played between these two, Scotland just has a habit of turning the narrative when they're not supposed to, and sometimes coming up with a result. So excellent makeup of the teams in the preparation for this game, and super exciting what we might get here. Now, let me run you through some scenarios. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this because obviously there are a lot of permutations around the tiebreaker, and I'm going to use a real-life scenario to help you guys understand how the tiebreakers work. Let's jump into it. So, let's say we get to the halftime. I'm going to use the live scoreboard and the live table here, as you can see, just to see what each of these options really means. In this situation, we have Ireland, 2 tries, Scotland 2 tries, both teams playing well in the first half, 20 points to 15. At this stage, Ireland are ahead. If it was to finish here, then very simple calculation. Ireland 18 points, South Africa 15 points, Scotland would dip out, unfortunately do not make the quarterfinals. And this is the result that most people are expecting. Almost everyone is saying that Ireland should walk through this, should win quite comfortably. Scotland will put up a brave fight, but over the 80 minutes, Ireland should have the better squad to really pull away with this. But rugby doesn't always get played on paper, guys, so we're going to continue on and have a little bit of fun with this. Let's say that Scotland are next to score. So they go up by 2 points, 22 points to 20. Now, at this stage, the permutations are still in favour of the same result, albeit South Africa would jump to the top, and Ireland would be there at second. Scotland, well, they get the win points in terms of the 4 points there. Not enough to really challenge there. So in that example, South Africa, Ireland go through on points. Now we go forward and it starts to get interesting. Let's say that there is 2 penalties at this point. So now you're beyond that 7-point mark. Ireland do not get a losing bonus point. So at this stage, it would be Scotland that go through on the balance of points are the same. So that's the first tiebreaker, 14-14. The second tiebreaker is head-to-head. So Scotland would go through against Ireland. It would be South Africa and Scotland going through to the quarterfinals. Move forward. Now we get a 15-minute run of play, which is just action-packed. 3 tries in total. 1 try to Scotland, taking them out to 35, and 2 tries to Ireland. Now at this point, both teams are getting the 4-try bonus point. So the implications to the table are Ireland would go top, South Africa would be second, and Scotland would be third on the basis all these last 2 teams are on 15 points each, and South Africa has won the head-to-head as the tiebreaker there between Scotland and South Africa. So in this situation, with 11 minutes to go, Scotland would be in a position they have to put on points, and they have to put them on quickly. So let's say that happens, okay? They score another try here. They go up beyond 8 points. Now, at this point, Ireland are in trouble. And there's 3 parts to the tiebreaker here. We look at points first. They're all even on 15. Now, at this point as well, because they're beyond 7 points, Ireland do not get that losing bonus point for being within 7. Head-to-head, all teams will have beaten each other at this point. So we go to points difference. And as you can see, the points difference favours South Africa, given the adjustments here. And it would mean that South Africa goes through as the top qualifier. We then run the scenario next again, and tiebreaker is applied again for the next 2 teams. Points is similar. Scotland has beaten Ireland in this scenario, so they would go through. So South Africa and Scotland qualify. So Ireland's got a decision to make at this point. Do they open up the floodgates and allow Scotland to just go for points, get to that 21-point or beyond mark or beyond, so that South Africa is kicked out? And that is the scenario. The conspiracy theorists have been out and about it, and this is what that would look like, right? it would be this situation where Scotland puts on 2 more tries. Let's say it's 14 points. They go out to a 22-point lead, and then the situation is head-to-head on points. Sorry, on points, everyone's even. Head-to-head, everyone is beating each other, and on points difference, Scotland would take the lead. We rerun the scenario, and points are even. Ireland go through on head-to-head. So that is the nightmare scenario that South Africans are dreading. It is also, the big talking point around the conspiracy theory. And the reason is this photo that turned up, right? We saw Andy Farrell, Gregor Townsend enjoying, looks like a coffee or a breakfast overlooking the Eiffel Tower. Now, is there more sinister motives in this discussion? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Are they plotting an ultimate conspiracy theory? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But what I can say is one thing, right? When you play with fire, you get burned. So just go back to the scenario. 2 points, right? In this scenario, the kicker would have the ultimate decision. Whoever's taking that final kick would have the ultimate decision on which team stays and which team goes. Because at that point, Scotland are up by 20. If they get the kick, they go up by 22. That kicker has the ultimate decision on who gets through to the quarterfinal. And that person will be this guy. So just imagine we're in this situation and he has the last say on who goes through. What a wild situation that would be. We know that he hasn't had the best relationship with Gregor Townsend in the past, and this man could do anything. What a spectacular way that would be to finish this game and finish that scenario. Obviously, we're just having a bit of fun with this, guys, but I can honestly say that would just be the most hilarious outcome. So, a lot to look forward to in this game, guys. I just wanted to run through a bit of a hypothetical fun situation with you. 1, to show you how the tiebreaker would work in the various permutations. 2, to feed into the conspiracy theories a little bit. But 3, also to articulate that there are so many potential outcomes in this game that if it is close, the player's going to be really thinking through what they need to do, what are the calculations, and whenever that lack of clarity is at play, mistakes can happen, and you never know where you might land. So, a lot to look forward to, an exciting matchup, huge in the context of the Rugby World Cup, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed this review as well, as I say, I just have a bit of fun with these sometimes. Please do hit like, subscribe to the channel, and keep up with me as we go through the rest of the Rugby World Cup. See you guys.